Weapon technology shaped the course of human history. Some of the most awesome designs are hundreds, even thousands of years old. But now, the most deadly weapons of all time are getting a makeover as modern technology puts a new spin on the ancient past.
Oh my.
Chad Hauschnick leads the way.
I want one. No, I want two.
One part master engineer
I think I can do that.
and 2 parts mad scientist. He'll get a helping hand from Mike Lodes, a man who knows a thing or two about history.
This is the world's first flamethrower.
And what gives these weapons their edge. This week, the team shoots the deadly dueling pistol straight into the 21st century. Chad isn't just under the gun. His life could depend on making a better one.
Men have been fighting one another since the dawn of time. Dueling brought order to the act of revenge. It was one step removed from the heat of the moment. Even so, once the challenge is accepted, there is no turning back.
Just drop! I can handle this. I take umbrage at your remarks, sir, and I challenge you to a duel. My rule.
Just one problem is that I don't know anything about duels. I don't know the rules, and yet they're supposed to be my rules. Well, I guess that's good at least. I get to make them up, so pretty hard to mess that up. But then there's the small matter of the dueling pistol itself.
Yeah, hey Mike, it's Chad.
No, I'm gonna do it. I just don't have the pistol. So I was kind of hoping. Yes, Mike. Okay, I was just hoping that maybe you could give me, you know, the quick little one. Yes. Okay, fine. I'll be there. Wow.
Well, indeed.
They're not quiet.
Is a shooting gallery. Thank you, gentlemen. Late 18th century, early 19th century, this is where gentlemen came to practice with their pistols.
And I'm guessing you want me to make you one of these.
Well, not exactly. John Buck, could you bring me the duelers, please? I want you to make me a dueling pistol.
As opposed to a...
It's at least 200 years after the pistol's invented that people start dueling with pistols. Yeah,
They were just stabbing each other to death before that?
exactly. People dueled with a sword. 1770, London gunsmiths developed this. Specialized, dedicated for one purpose only, the duel.
Dedicated, deadly duelers?
The key characteristic of the flintlock dueling pistol is its external ignition system. The flint strikes a steel plate called a frizzen and creates a spark that ignites the gunpowder in the pan. This sends a flash through a small hole in the side of the barrel that detonates the gunpowder inside the barrel, and the gun fires. Could we have some loaded pistols? We need to have a go with one to really get the feel of it.
Okay, I'm in.
Here we go. One for you.
Very nice.
You like that?
Silky smooth. Very, very light to pull. It almost was... I was surprised when it actually fell.
Exactly. It's what they call a hair trigger. You want the least possible muscle movement.
Right, so
That's where the hair trigger comes in.
And
So
what's
there's
this
a-
all about? This whole arm?
Oh, that's because if I'm facing somebody on the dueling field, I want to create the smallest possible target.
Oh, so you
I don't.
present your
Want, I don't
profile.
if I stand like this, then I could get a bullet in the arm. So I get it behind my back, stand like that. And even I am thinner standing sideways. Gentlemen, could you bring us 2 more charged pistols, please? Thank you very much.
Thank you, my good sir. I kind of like this. Can we keep these guys?
I know, it's great.
Cup of tea, Bruce.
Can you beat this for efficiency?
I think that there is little doubt. I've got several ideas already.
Come this way.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Now, was it proper to tip these guys, or you just kind of let them be? Oh, no. They're on staff. Well, that was pretty cool, but I think I still need to know a little bit more about guns in general, so I'm off to Europe for a little history lesson.
So, where are we, Mike?
We are in Denmark, in Kolding.
Nice.
Went to an army range to look at a replica of the world's first gun. It's called the Lossolt gun. It was found in Lossolt, which is in modern-day Sweden. And it's a basic tube. You see it's bigger at this end, so it's reinforced at the breech end. Can you see in there? The first thing they used is an arrow. Of course they'd shoot an arrow. That's what they thought you shot. Should we shoot this?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I like that. So that's slow match, not quick match.
That's
Whoa!
So that would have been a single-use projectile.
Yeah, and you will have scattered pieces of arrows all over.
Lots of splinters.
Well, obviously, there's been a lot of evolution from this medieval gun to my 21st century update of a dueling pistol. So, what I did is I went out and I got a couple flintlock dueling kits to see if I couldn't learn me a thing or two.
So these are all the parts that will complete this.
Yeah, this is a kit. This is a kit.
I see.
First of all, what are the rules? The rules are I've got a smooth bore, which this is. That's because the barrel has no grooves inside. And because it has a smooth interior surface, it's referred to as a smooth bore barrel. So, smooth bore, external ignition, and that's pretty much it.
Those are the rules.
Here's my idea. First of all, I mean, what's the big problem when you gotta pull the trigger?
Right.
Which means that you are sort of necessarily, messing with the arm which is doing the aiming. So my idea is, well, let's put the trigger over here in this hand.
Right. So you're going to use this barrel?
I'm going to use this barrel.
And you're shooting a ball.
I'm shooting a ball. It's going to be a lead ball. It's not a perfectly spherical shape. So, I mean, I suppose if I used a precision ball bearing, then it would be perfect, which I might do. Do you remember the wrist rockets when you were a kid?
Yeah. That's a great idea.
I'm going to get something
To
out here that
link that to your arm to stabilize it.
Well, Tim and I root around my shop for inspiration. Mike's going to fill my brain with a bit more gun history.
Things move around a lot.
What is this?
The first guns were cast in bronze and they were vase-shaped. Within a few decades, they were also making handheld firearms, like this little hand cannon. It's a simple tube with a touch hole mounted on a stock.
Fairly impossible to aim because but it works actually.
Improvement to that came in, certainly by 1400, which was to have a lever mechanism.
Wow! That was like almost like slow motion. I mean, I heard the flash and the pan, and then it was like doop, 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 boom.
So by about 1540, they developed the wheel lock. It's a very cunning mechanism.
Looks like some watchmaker somewhere spent an awful lot of time having an awful lot of fun making something that, from what I've read, is notoriously unreliable. Let's see what it does. Does nothing.
Which is clearly not working. May not be working this time, but of course a loaded gun should always be pointed downrange or held vertically, just in case it does go off.
I'm gonna give it a 1 because, I suppose it worked occasionally.
By the end of the 16th century, you've got the development of the first flintlock. What you've got is a piece of flint in here which strikes against the frizzen and creates a spark, igniting the powder in the pan. The flash goes through the touch hole on the side of the barrel.
The whole thing goes boom, your opponent falls down dead, bleeding in a hideous, writhing mass of pain and lead and blood.
I need to bring it back to full cock in order to shoot it. Load it with a ball, and we're ready to fire.
Fire in the hole. Reliable, worked. Took quite a lot of pull on my finger there to pull that trigger, though. I could actually see the barrel going off left or right. What's the difference between this and a dueler? They certainly are works of art.
Well, they really are. I mean, these are gentlemen's weapons. So, I mean, the first thing is they're custom made, so it has to fit the hand.
That actually
the balance
felt
has
much
to be-
better.
Just that action of coming from there to there, it should be part of you. Most importantly, what they focused on was speed of ignition.
Right.
If you're going on a signal, or if you're walking and turning, you need to go bang. That's going to be your challenge. Can you make a faster ignition system? But it's got to be an external.
External to what?
External to the chamber of the gun. Can you improve it outside the barrel?
Okay, I get it. I need to make the ignition system external to the barrel. I also need to use black powder in the gun, and I need to use a lead ball and a smoothbore barrel. So I'm off to Nashville, Tennessee, gonna see Greg Murray, a real artisan. He's making flintlock pistols by hand, just like they were doing 300 years ago. I've only got a quick moment with Greg, and I've got a lot of questions.
Hey, Chad.
So it's true what they say about the Southern hospitality.
Yeah.
The darn rental car doesn't have a spare. I just met one of your neighbors and I said, loan me your bicycle, and if I don't come back, you get a car out of the deal.
Wow. Well, hey, just lean your wheels right there and come on in the shop and let me show you around.
You know, I've got this pile of stuff you sent me, and it sort of almost fits together, but it's not like getting the kit at the hobby store and gluing it together. There's quite a lot of work to do. I mean, so how do I get from this pile of parts, you know, through this line of almost halfway there to this?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to touch it?
Yeah, pick it up.
I figure I ought to be able to knock that out in what, 2 hours? Maybe 3?
Yeah, that's about 6 months of work.
6 months.
6 months, yeah.
Now, is this functioning?
Oh, yes. It's my interpretation of a fine dueler.
It seems to me that the weak point is the ignition system.
Hang fire, slow fire.
Right. The hammer falls, the spark happens, and you're sort of holding on to this thing for, you know, an eternity.
It seems like.
And then all of a sudden it goes off.
Right, yeah.
Which has got to affect your accuracy.
Every time.
So anything I can redo to, A, you know, increase the reliability. Yeah. In other words, the number of times I pull the trigger, the thing actually fires.
Right.
And reduce the amount of time between when my finger moves and when the bullet comes out the end.
Yeah.
It's going to be more accurate because less wiggle. And I've got a lot of ideas about how to do that. But before I start changing the thing,
okay,
I want to start somewhere.
All right.
Shall we roll up our sleeves and do this thing?
Yeah, we'll do it, man. All right, let's put these things together.
So in 2 days, Greg and I crammed in about 2 months worth of work. One thing's for sure, this flintlock is a very complex machine, and there's way too many details to describe right now.
Well, you know, we're close, but we got a lot of cleaning up to do. When some people work, they're always moving their feet, you know, and you wonder why their work is never square, never good, because they're always just moving all over the place. The bottom line is, get that position. Set your feet. Set your feet. I think we're good.
We're good. So that's going to take a while to cool down, I suspect.
Yeah, while it's cooling, why don't we go outside and I'll show you how to cast lead balls.
Okay. Now, actually, I got a question about that. Yeah. I'm actually not planning on using lead balls.
Oh,
I was thinking about, you know, a precision stainless steel ball bearing. You see a problem with that?
Yeah, there's a lot of technical problems with that.
With the precision ball bearing?
With the steel ball bearing.
Okay.
And one of them is, during the ignition process, the lead ball absorbs, it's like a cushion, and it absorbs a lot of stuff that's happening inside that barrel.
So it deforms a little bit and just kind of goes with the flow?
Right.
Which is probably a good thing.
And
so that
there's one other factor.
What's that?
When it hits your opponent, you want mass, heaviness, and mushrooming or flattening in order to do
Otherwise
the
we
kill.
Get over penetration.
This is all about killing one another.
Oh. and yet you seem so nice.
Chilling, my favorite! And since we're on the topic, Mike, I don't know anything about the history of the duel, so before I blow your head off, a little help here?
The duel began as an ancient right of law in Northern Europe. The Vikings in particular always had the right to challenge any legal judgment with the wager of battle. And this was the first duel. During the Middle Ages, this ancient right was transferred to the trial by combat. In a Christian age, it was believed that God would decide the victor. It wasn't until the 16th century that the duel changed from being a legal right to a social custom. The civilian duel was a craze that accounted for thousands of lives. The sword had always been the emblem of the ruling class, but now, for the first time, it was being worn with civilian dress. This was the age of the rapier. From the Spanish, espada ropera, a rapier was a sword for civilians as opposed to a soldier's weapon. It was a classic dueling sword. It was also the age of the wheel-lock, which was the first pistol. And because of its single-handed operation, the wheel-lock was easily carried into battle by cavalry. And by the 17th century, some duels were being fought on horseback with wheel-lock pistols. By the late 17th century, the rapier had been superseded by the more elegant but deadly small sword. Even after the introduction of the flintlock pistol, it was still the norm to duel with swords. Swords were considered the proper weapons of honor. By 1750, officers were winning glory on the battlefield with the flintlock pistol, and it gradually became acceptable, indeed fashionable, for them to settle their private affairs of honor with the same. And that was the birth of the dedicated dueling pistol.
You've done a great job, and we've come a long way with this. However, you don't have enough time to do that on that. So I think you might want to.
I don't think there's enough time left in the universe.
I think you might want to let me do that. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Let's put it together and shoot it. We got action.
You got a spark.
Now we need to load it up and really get some action.
Some real action.
Yeah.
You got action here?
Yeah, we do. Hammer's down, frizzing's open.
Hammer down.
Frizzing open.
You got to put the hammer down. That's where that comes from.
That's right.
So we're out in Greg's backyard to find out if this flintlock will actually fire.
Okay.
All right.
All right, everybody, this thing's real now. Fire in a hole.
Right.
Just a flash in the pan.
Okay, so a flash in the pan is when the gunpowder ignites in the pan, but doesn't transmit through the touch hole all the way to light the powder inside the barrel. And that's usually because the hole is blocked.
Okay.
All right.
We're alive.
Here we go.
Fire in a hole. I saw the flash, and I'm just like, any day now, and then, you know, and
Okay.
all right,
Fire in the hole.
we're hot.
Watch where your muzzle points.
Again with the delay.
Yeah, well, we're speeding up a little
We're
bit.
getting there, but that
Yeah.
was like,
That's the only second shot. That's pretty good for just breaking in 2 shots.
so it takes some time to tune this puppy
It's
up.
just like a real fine-tuned engine. You don't build it and go race it that next day.
Which would you rather have in your driveway? A modern automobile that you knew every time, you know, nor dark of night, nor rain, nor sleet, nor snow, you went outside, you put the key in the ignition, it started every time. Or do you want the 1967 Chevrolet Chevelle with the lime green fresh sparkle paint that you're never sure if that thing's gonna run or not? Now, when it does run, oh my God, what a sweet ride. Yeah?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I got your point.
You know, that's the reason that I'm trying to get rid of all this flinty, steely, sparky stuff. I want solid state electronics. I keep thinking that little black diamond in the middle of the jack there.
is your hole?
my shot.
Yeah, right. You're dreaming.
All right, fire in the hole. Flash in the pan. Greg, I got a plane to catch. It's not reliable enough for me. And I understand we just put this thing together.
That's right.
I'm not gonna make a better, more accurate, but I think I can make it more reliable.
That's what we
That's
want.
what I'm hoping to do. Okay.
That's right.
Thanks.
See you, buddy.
I learned a lot. I learned that my concept of a precision steel ball bearing, out the door. Don't need it. It's going to actually not even work as well as a lead ball. So lead is not a dead end. Flint, dead end. I'm gonna go see if they got that tire fixed on my rental car. Oh yeah, and another thing. Just kidding.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, okay, I get it. I understand the flintlock. I get how it works. I understand the rules of the duel. Just one more question. The powder. I've got all these different powders I bought down the gun shop, and every one of them says not for use in muzzle loaders. Black powder. No, these ain't. Okay.
But now we're going to Denmark to learn how they mixed it in medieval Europe. Medieval gunpowder.
Yeah,
Carbon, sulfur, saltpeter.
that's
That
it.
we know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's Jens, the gunpowder guru.
What's your preferred ratio, Jens?
Well, 75% saltpeter, that's 14% sulfur and 12% charcoal.
Because obviously the proportions are important.
They are very important. That was the problem in the medieval time, that they didn't know what was the proper mixture. So there's a lot of different manuscripts telling you different recipes.
Gunpowder cookery books.
Yeah, and not all of them are.
A recipe for gunpowder. I really like recipes, and they make me hungry, but right now what I really want is a hot dog.
Gunpowder needs fuel. Fuel to burn, otherwise there's no flame. And the fuel for gunpowder is this stuff. It's charcoal, 90% carbon, and it comes from burning wood, driving out the water and the sap. But you can't just burn it in an open fire like this. It's too much oxygen, and all you get is ash. It's inert, and there's no energy left. You need to cook it slowly. And the way they did that for centuries was in a kiln like this. They would stack wood in a cone shape and cover it with earth. The earth is sealing off the oxygen supply. There's just enough inside to let it smoulder. But this is being controlled. We can see the chemical reaction if we look in this 19th century kiln. The wood and earth stack takes about 3 weeks to make the charcoal. But by the 19th century, there was such a demand for gunpowder that they had to come up with this. Now, this kiln can create charcoal in just 24 hours. Look, you can see it cooking away there, making the perfect charcoal for the perfect gunpowder. This is a sulfur spring, and sulfur is one of the key ingredients of gunpowder. It's found in creeks like this, and especially in volcanic regions all over the world. During the age of gunpowder, some of the best sulfur came from Sicily, where it was harvested on an almost industrial scale. The sulfur sludge was placed in brick or stone kilns on the hillside and then gently heated, so the sulfur would separate and trickle down the hill till it evaporated and they could gather the pure, soft powder. It doesn't smell like rotten eggs at all, that's a myth. Pure sulfur smells almost sweet, and the ancients called it brimstone. Its significance for gunpowder is that it burns at a much lower temperature than carbon, and so it accelerates the flash. Fire. It won't burn without oxygen. And the oxidizing agent for gunpowder is potassium nitrate, saltpeter. And the raw material for that can be found naturally in caves. This is Organ Cave in West Virginia. For a while it was General Lee's headquarters during the Civil War. He had 11,000 men down here. It goes back 45 miles and it's full of this stuff. Calcium nitrate. And you can see it's already got some of the fizz in it that it needs to oxidize gunpowder. Now that has to then be mixed with wood ash, which is potassium hydroxide. And that gave you potassium nitrate. So, charcoal, sulfur, saltpeter. Mix them together at the right ratio and you've got... Gunpowder was invented by the Chinese in the 11th century. When it's just loose powder like this, there's no explosion because all the expanding gases from the burn have just dissipated into the atmosphere. When you expand those gases in a gun barrel or in a champagne bottle, then there's only one place for those gases to go. It's going to pop the cork. You can see there's the black powder load. Here is a wadding. That's giving the airtight gas seal. And here's the bullet. And to try and see what happens, I'm going to run this high-speed camera at the same time. Okay, here we go. Fire in the hole. 3, 2, 1. Wow, you can really see that powder ignite, and you can see the gases are expanding. It's starting to move that wad. It's pushing the bullet ahead of it. You can see the flame chasing it up the barrel, and there it goes, streaming out of the end. That's a gun.
Well, nifty enough, but you know, it didn't stop here. I mean, how do you get from this to a, 50 caliber machine gun?
Well, the next development was this. It's called a percussion cap, and it was invented by the Reverend Forsyth in 1805. And look, he experimented, and in this little cap is chlorate of potash, fulminate of mercury, and some ground glass. And look, it goes just on a strike, just on percussion. And this little percussion cap sits on there. The hammer now creates the percussion, and you have got a much faster gun. It was a short step from the percussion cap to putting that at the base of a cartridge. Your powder goes into the cartridge, and then the bullet fits on the end like that. In fact, that's a miniature gun. You strike that, this will shoot. Internal ignition, like this, the Colt 45, the dueling pistol of the Wild West.
Right.
Now we've really got something.
Wow. Well, that is obviously a vastly superior technology. And vastly louder. Wow. Nice stuff. I mean, this is obviously where my head is at already.
And the thing about dueling is it's done under rules. This is the Code of Honor. Rules for the Government of Principals and Seconds on Dueling. John Lyde Wilson, Governor of South Carolina, 1858. And he has a rule in here which says the arms used should be smooth-bore pistols with flint and steel.
Okay, so you're saying smooth bore,
Yep,
external ignition,
yep,
black powder,
yep, same load.
next Sunday, high noon?
That sounds rather like a challenge.
It is, sir.
I will see you there.
I'll see you there. With bells on. Special Agent Houseneck here, misguided manufacturer and pseudo-weapon master par excellence. Let's back up for a second. What have we learned? Well, first of all, that whole sort of black powder in the pan, external flint outside, it's just wrong. Clearly, there's plenty of room for improvement there. Pursuant to that, I'm off to see the innovative thinkers at the American military defense contractor, Metal Storm, to see if I can't come up with a more reliable external ignition component. Judging by the sign on the wall, if I wanted a weapons system, I'd be in the right place.
Yes.
I need a gun. You have any guns? I thought you said you had guns.
We do.
You know what? I'm just kidding. Is Arthur here?
Yes,
I'm
he
Chad.
is. Hold on.
Thanks.
You want a gun?
Well,
You want a gun? I'll give you a gun. Hey, Chad, good to meet you finally. How you
what I want is
doing?
a weapons system.
A weapon system. You didn't have to get dressed up for us, really.
Well, don't
It's
worry.
not that important. Really.
So all the rounds are stacked up in this
Right.
tube.
Just insert them right into the barrel.
These are 40 millimeter.
40 millimeter.
So how many you get? 6 in there?
4 in this particular
Four
one.
in that one? And then 4 times 4, so that's 12.
Yeah, it's 16.
And each tube could have.
Come on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
1,
okay.
2, 3, 4.
But
See,
in
I was up
essence,
till 4
in essence,
the morning last
we
night.
could hit what this thing will be able to do, sitting on a mount on a.
It'll be able to scare the heck out of somebody just by looking at it.
Well, sometimes it scares the heck out of us, but we have an opportunity to show what's going on with the system, be able to move it
Can we do
up,
that?
down, and around. Sure.
Actually, that'd be fun, sort of like robot duels.
Well, your robot wouldn't have a chance against my robot, I'll tell you.
I don't know about that. But what if I did that? Now you're blind. That's been my challenge is, what can I do within, this sort of narrowly confined space to find that one little, well, what if?
Well, I'll tell you, if you want, I can introduce you to one of our young engineers, Ian Clent.
When you're aiming, you have to pull the trigger so that, your hand's gonna move.
There you go.
So my first thought was, well, what if I put the trigger in my other hand?
No
in
lock
the other
time,
hand.
no moving hammer.
Right.
You're gonna have a step ahead in that direction.
And that's how I ended up on your doorstep, is the electronic ignition.
Well, I think that's a good way to go.
Well, as it turns out, it's also a pretty easy way to go. All I need are some inexpensive electric primers, and my new pal Ian back there, well, he's brought a bunch for me to play with. So what I've done is I've set up the ground, is connected to the vise, and I've set up the positive, is connected to this little pin, which I have pressed down to just barely touch the center of this electrical primer charge. Now we're going to try it and see what happens. Fire in the hole. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Well, that was easy.
Yep, that's the way it's supposed to go. And you know what? I really think that's going to give you that advantage you're looking for.
And it was basically, there was no delay, certainly not discernible by me.
That's right.
So now it's time to see a man about a gun, and that man is me and the gun is mine. Same diameter bore, same lead ball. Well, not the same one. They're both coming out of the same box. Same amount of black powder. It's going to be a smooth bore, and the barrel's going to be the same length. Boom! That's where the similarities end. Don't look at me, look at the pictures. There you go. So that little gold colored thing is the primer. Look at the pictures. Okay, so there's going to be this plunger, which is this gray thing right here. And that plunger is going to come in, and it's going to press the electric primer into the hole. Remember, this has to move and travel down, and that's why the electrode is going to be spring-loaded. So it will always be touching the contact right in the center. All right, so I've taken this build just about as far as I can here. Due to the local ordinances, it would be against the law for me to actually make the last couple parts and put this thing together. So I'm off to the lovely town of Winchester in the gun-running, God-fearing state of Virginia to see Tim Scanlon and finish off the last few components and slap this puppy together. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and guess that you're Tim.
Got that right. Let me take you back here and show you the workshop. Well, here's a package you sent me.
Oh yeah, I recognize that box. We got to drill and tap the scope rails.
Mm-hmm.
And then underneath, I've got a laser sight, laser pointer. You know, a little red dot. That's primarily just for intimidation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just want this thing to look ridiculous. And then, my idea is, remember when you were in high school, they had those slingshots with the surgical tubing?
Yeah, the wrist rockets.
Yeah, and it had that arm that came over the.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, I want a little collar.
We can build that.
Yeah. So, we got a gun to build and the day to do it. I'm not Amish, but I like that motto.
Let's give it.
Let's get at it.
We got some welding to do.
All right, now here's the scary part. What Tim and I have to do is drill some very shallow holes into the actual barrel itself, and we could very easily go too far and put a hole all the way through. I gotta be real careful because I could easily drill these holes too deep, and then that would be really bad. Well, that was a little touch and go, but we managed to attach the scope rails without a hitch, and now we're ready to weld the barrel to the frame of the gun. How's that feel?
See what you think.
Feels front heavy at the moment.
Just a little.
However, had improved it dramatically. In fact, I think that's all the difference. So, we got this all jigged up. You took a look at it?
Yep, we're good to go.
All right. And now, the last thing I have to do before this puppy's ready to go outside is make the connection between the gun and the trigger. How do you like white and blue?
Works for me.
Good, because that's what we got. All right. All right, y'all, relax. I'm going to take you through and explain the whole thing to you once I get it together. We're almost there. Soldering this to the end of the electrode, and what's the other thing? We got to hook it to the frame. I got to ground the frame, and we're done. And then I'm going to tell you the whole story. I promise. Twice. I'll tell it twice. This is the electrode, and this is the plunger. The plunger does two things. It presses the electric primer into a seat, and you push it in there with this little knurled screw. Yep, there, I can feel it. You just feel it seat, and it feels right, and you know it's there, and it's really, really good. What's your 2 favorite colors? No, green, blue! Going live. All right, cheese hot, fire in the hole. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are moments away.
We're gonna shoot straight outside.
I'm in. Just say that again without that other word, and we're good to go.
We're gonna shoot that right outside.
Hell yeah. We are. All right, you ready? We're gonna take that puppy right outside. Okay, and okay, right here we go. Boom. Well, I can't wait to test this thing outside for real. Ha And Mike said it couldn't be done.
Fire.
We got ignition the first shot. My first test fire right here went off. We got it on the first try. Good. The electric primers are vastly superior to a flintlock. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I am very, very pleased.
Well, Mike's in for a big surprise.
The moment of truth has arrived for my dueling pistol, and I'm off to Stanton, Virginia to show Mike my stuff.
Hey,
Hey, Mike.
what do we have here?
This is the dueling pistol I built.
That you built?
I had a lot of help.
So I'm just going to see how this sparks.
Oh,
Okay, and that's a very fine hair trigger. Tiny muscle
I did
reflex.
hone
so
it down a little bit.
That is a good job. Although, what do we have?
I am actually slightly prouder of this one. I just sort of added this little laser sight to mine, which I think might help a little bit. And just for good measure, I added a scope.
So dueling pistols have sights, so that's legitimate. I have to let you have that.
The other thing I did was I added this little bit in the back, a little bit of spring steel here.
That's good. And the barrel looks as if it's...
They are identical. They were cut from the same piece of steel.
Level playing field. So far, so good.
Most importantly, in this little box, this is the trigger. So now, while you're up there moving the muscles in your aiming hand, I'm rock solid and I'm doing all of the movement over here.
That's good. Where exactly is this ignition happening?
I've got an electric primer.
Okay.
Which sits in that recess inside. Can you see it?
Yeah. And that's outside?
And that's a big question. I agree with you that I have...
We'll review it.
This is... Can you hold that for me, please?
With pleasure.
Thank you. This is the key right here. This is spring loaded.
Good.
And that is an insulated electrode.
Let's test how fast it will shoot. There's a chronograph over there. And then let's see who's most accurate.
I'll do it. I'm in. There's yours, sir. Here's mine. Shall we?
Shall we? Chad and I are going to test how fast these pistols can shoot a bullet. The chronograph measures the speed in feet per second.
Ah, there you go. All right, yeah, you need 2 arms that are the same length. That's about right, though. 8 foot 6. All right. All right.
You ready?
Yep. All right.
What do we got?
Wow.
520.
Yeah.
Well, that's respectable.
Yeah.
That's what one would expect.
And I'm hot, fire in the hole.
Whoa.
Well, that felt like about 1,200,000 million.
Well, it was 599. Okay, so you've got same load, you've got marginally more power, therefore supposedly more accurate.
Well, that's
flatter trajectory.
But let's find out about that
Let's do that.
accuracy. Let's go test these things at some targets.
I'm in.
You going to help me set the targets up?
Yeah.
Right. Flash in the pan. Where did that go? Right. Flash in the pan. Yeah, still hanging left.
Fire in the hole. Well, it works. Didn't hit nothing. We are the champions. No time for love. 'cause we are the champions.
I like what you've done, but there's an elephant in the room.
A white elephant or a pink elephant?
Is that or is that not external ignition?
I don't know.
The great thing is, I'm not judging you, because this is about dueling, and dueling is about honor and reputation.
My second stands ready and waiting. Does yours, sir?
For real?
For real. I'll see you then.
See you then.
Now, it's a commonly held misconception that dueling took place only in Europe, but in fact, it happened right here in the good old US of A,
Come on, get on. Pistol dueling was immensely popular in America. There were moves to outlaw it, but legislation was patchy. For instance, in Washington, D.C., it was illegal. So irate legislators, get on horses. The irate legislators would drive out to Bladensburg, a famous Maryland dueling ground, and settle their disputes. One of the most prolific duelists of the age was Andrew Jackson, who later became the 7th president. He's known to have fought over a dozen duels, but he may have fought as many as 100. But the most famous duel of all was between Jefferson's vice president, Aaron Burr, and Alexander Hamilton, who had been Secretary of the Treasury under George Washington. It took place at Weehawken, just a short boat trip away from New York. Hamilton eloped. In other words, he shot into the air, but Burr's ball struck him, and Hamilton died of his wounds the following day. Aaron Burr was acquitted of manslaughter, but his political career was effectively over.
Finally, at long last, it would appear that my 15 minutes have arrived. Mike and I are about to make history. We're gonna have the first duel of the 21st century. Yeah. Don't worry about that, Josh. Look, the only thing that matters is you read the part about the seconds, right? You're my second. So your job is to kill Mike when he cheats. Simple enough. Josh, kill.
And whoa! This is Ed. He's agreed to be my second. Whoa, boys, whoa. Seconds are very important. They make sure that everything goes to correct procedure. They will speak with each other. Chad and I must now not speak until the duel. And Ed will also ensure that the powder measure is exactly the same in both pistols to make sure it's fair play. We are set. I'm off to meet Chad. Get up! Go on!
Now, the other thing is make sure that Mike hasn't modified that pistol I gave him in any way. Snuck any sort of rifling in there or anything like that that's going to give him an unfair advantage, okay? So keep an eye on him and don't worry about these rules. They mean nothing.
So I'm here at the appointed place and the appointed time, and still no sign of Chad.
Gentlemen, good morning. Mike, how are you? Are you still in?
This is ridiculous. Will you please tell this gentleman he does not speak to me directly?
Sir, Yeah, I get it. Okay, fine. Could you please ask Mr. Loads why that is?
Because it's in the code. Moreover, I have found a clause which says I may refuse to receive a challenge for one that has been publicly disgraced, one whose occupation is unlawful, and a man in his dotage on a lunatic.
Are you saying that my decision to co-host a television show makes this a disreputable occupation? I take umbrage and offense at that remark, sir.
It is a disreputable occupation.
Well, fair enough. However, I am no lunatic.
Gentlemen, load your weapons. Present your pieces.
Thank you. Yet more tiresome delays.
Perfection takes time, good sir. Perfection takes time.
Whatever. Was today we were going to duel, was it?
Gentlemen, are we ready?
Ready.
Proceed.
Firing may be regulated, first by signal, secondly by word of command.
Blah, blah. Would you be so kind as to step into my field of view and drop your darn hat?
got you.
Yes, you did, but I think I got you too.
Kind of bigger, yeah. Clearly, I mean, it's amazing that just this little touch hole here vented the gas. That's the same charge in there. You've got so much more power.
Yeah, you're losing all your pressure out of the vent hole.
But this, which I think was one of your most genius ideas.
Oh, getting the trigger hand out of the aiming hand.
Yeah, and instantaneous.
Pretty much.
But you've done a good job. People will decide whether that's internal or external and whether you are honourable or not.
There's an argument to be made.
I'm on the fence with that. But you're in a win-win situation because you made both guns.
I did.
This behaved beautifully.
Thank you.
Real good job. That is superb. Mission accomplished.
Thanks, Mike. So, what's next?